This video lesson is about place value. A couple of definitions you need to know before we can really get into place value is digit and number. You need to understand what a digit is when I ask you in class, for example, what digit is in the tens place, that you know exactly what I'm talking about. A digit is simply one of the 10 symbols, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 that are used to write numbers. For example, you would see this and you would say, well, that's the number 23, and you would be correct. It is the number 23. The digits that I've used to make this number are 2 and 3. So if I were to ask you what digit is in the tens place, you would tell me a 2. What digit is in the threes place? You would tell me 3. Or what digit's in the ones place? You would tell me 3. So when I'm asking for the digit, I'm looking for that individual symbol that's used to create the number. So 2 is the digit, 3 is the digit, 23 is the number. Let's talk first about the first period of digits. These are the numbers that go up to the hundreds. Okay, 841. This is a set of digits in the first period. There are no commas used. There are only 3 digits used to make up the number. So if we break it down, if we break down 841, we'll see that we have 8 hundreds, 4 tens, and 1 1. Well, what's the value of this digit in the hundreds place? Well, it's the same as 8 times 100 here, 4 times 10 here, and 1 times 1 is the value of the 1 here. So I can break it down even more and say, well, 8 times 100 is 800. So the value of that digit is 800. The value of this digit is 40. The value of this digit is 1. When I read this number, I'm going to say 841. I'm not going to include the word and. I'm not going to say 841 because, as we'll learn later, when you say the word and, that tells me that there's a decimal somewhere in that number. We're not quite there yet. So make sure you don't get that word and in there. Simply 841. Now numbers get bigger. These numbers are the ones, the tens, the hundreds. What about numbers as they get bigger? If we talk about place value through the hundred thousands, okay, each group of 3 digits is called a period. So remember we talked, like that would be 1 period, 796. Commas separate the periods, and each period has a ones, a tens, and a hundreds in it, in the period. So if I look at just this number, 796, I know my ones, my tens, and my hundreds. Well, then there's this comma that tells me there's another set of numbers, another set of digits on the other side of this comma, and I see 2, 3, 5. This is another period of numbers. So if I break it down, I'll see that this 2, the value of this 2 is 200,000. The value of this 3 is 30,000. The value of my 5 is 5,000. Now, here's a trick. Whenever you see the comma, you know you've come to the end of that period. This comma makes me tell everyone which period I just finished reading. Well, this is the thousands. I'm at a comma, so I'm going to read it just like it were by itself. 235. My comma makes me say thousands. 235,000. And then I read the next period of numbers, 796. Okay, let's make up another number. Let's say 4, 6, 3, 2, 1, 7. If I wanted to read that number, I'm going to look again. I see a comma, but here's the first period. So I'm going to look at this and I'm going to say 463. This comma makes me say 1,000 because that's the period I've just read. 463,217. As we work with numbers, I'm going to have you writing them in different ways, and you need to know the different ways, the different number forms, the different ways you're going to be asked to write numbers. So back to our same number, 235, comma makes me say 1,796. Well, this is written in standard form. It's just the digits in order to form the number. I may ask you to write it in word form. That's when you're going to have to write out the words for each of the numbers. 235,796. Here's a trick. When you write the word form, you're going to have to put the comma in just like you would in standard form. So where would my comma go? 235,000. Well, isn't that where it goes here? So put a comma. 796. So you have to put the comma in your word form just like you would in standard form. And finally, expanded form. If I break this number down into each of its parts and tell the value of each digit, when something expands, it gets bigger. So all of this is this number. But I need to know the value of each of the digits. What is the value of the 2? Well, it's in the hundred thousands place, so it's worth 200,000. What's the value of the 3? 30,000 plus 30,000. What's the value of the 5? 5,000 plus what's the value of the 7? 700 plus what's the value of the 9? 90 plus what's the value of the 6? It's worth 6. Little trick, all you're going to do is turn the numbers to the right into zeros. So when I have 200,000 and I want to know the value of that 2, I can write my 2 and then count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to turn all those into zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But don't forget, you got to put that comma in there so that I can read the number more easily. So I count back 1, 2, 3, comma, 1, 2, 3, comma. And so now I can easily see that my 2 is worth 200,000 because that comma makes me say 1,000. So be aware and be listening for which number form. Always read your directions. Know which number form you're being asked to give as an answer.